So now I move to part B, which is something of great interest for all of us, taxation related. Honorable Speaker, sir, I see a lot of members sitting up. Mr. Speaker, sir, I begin by thanking our taxpayers who, as responsible citizens, perform their duty by paying their taxes. It is because of their valuable contribution that our government is able to work for our collective dream of inclusive and all-round development of our nation. I place my appreciation to the honest taxpayer of India. At this juncture, sir, I find wisdom in a line from Purananuru, which is a Sangam time Tamil literature piece. A Tamil Sangam era work, and this is done by Pisirandayar, yes. The verse, Yanai Pugunda Nilam, a land into which elephant gets in. Yanai Pugunda Nilam. This was sung as an advice to the king, a Pandyan king, Pandyan Aruvudai Nambi. The king is Pandyan Aruvudai Nambi, and Pisirandayar gives this advice to him. It's a long verse. I'm only picking up the first line, some line from the middle, and the end. Kai nel aruthu kavalang koline. Kai nel aruthu kavalang koline. Arivudai vendan neriyarindu koline. Arivudai vendan neriyarindu koline. Parivu taba edukkum pindam natchin. Parivu taba edukkum pindam natchin. Yanai pukka pulam pol. Yanai pukka pulam pola. Thanum unnan ulagamum kedume. Meaning, a few mounds of rice, just a few mounds of rice from paddy that is harvested from a small piece of land would be sufficient for the elephant. For an elephant, just a few mounds of rice cooked from paddy which is taken from a small piece of land will be sufficient. But what if the elephant itself enters into the field and starts eating? It would eat far lesser than what it will trample with its foot. I hope the meaning is clear. So, the advice given to Pandyan Arivudai Nambi is a valuable advice that this government appreciates. An elephant, if it is given mounds of rice, here I would refer to taxation, will be quite happy. It doesn't have to enter into the field and trample to eat the food. So we don't intend to trample anybody. Sir, in direct taxes therefore, sir, Mr. Speaker, due to a slew of efforts taken by our government, the direct tax revenue has significantly increased over the past couple of years. It has increased by over 78% from 6.38 lakh crores in financial year 2013-14 to around 11.37 lakh crores in financial year 2018. From 6.38 lakh crores to 11.37 lakh crores between 13-14 and 18-19. It is now growing at double-digit rate every year. Let me recall, sir, and reiterate this government's effort over the past 5 years to alleviate the tax burden on small and medium income earners. This includes self-employed as well as small traders, salary earners, and senior citizens. Only when their annual taxable income exceeds 5 lakhs, only when their annual taxable income exceeds 5 lakhs, they are required to pay any income tax. The details of our efforts and achievements on this front during the past few years are given in the annexure to the speech. I am not going into the details of it. Speaker, sir, my tax proposals will aim to stimulate growth, incentivize affordable housing, and encourage startups by releasing the entrepreneurial spirit. It will also be geared towards promoting digital economy. I aim to simplify tax administration and bring greater transparency. So far as corporate tax is concerned, we continue with phased reduction in rates. Currently, a lower rate of 25% is only applicable to companies having annual turnover up to 250 crores. Currently, the lower rate of 25% is only applicable to companies having annual turnover of up to 250 crores. I propose to widen this to include all companies having an annual turnover of up to 400 crores. This will cover 99.3% of all the companies. Only 0.7% of companies will remain outside of this rate. So in order to boost economic growth and make in India, the government will launch a scheme to invite global companies through a transparent competitive bidding to set up mega manufacturing plants in sunrise and advanced technology areas such as semiconductor fabrication, solar photovoltaic cells, lithium storage batteries, solar electric charging infrastructure, computer servers, laptops, etc., and provide them investment-linked income tax exemptions under 35 AD of the Income Tax Act and other indirect tax benefits. Sir, on electric vehicles. Considering our large consumer base, we aim to leapfrog and envision India as a global hub of manufacturing of electric vehicles. A global hub of manufacturing electric vehicles. Inclusion of solar storage batteries and charging infrastructure in the above scheme will boost our efforts. Government has already moved the GST Council to lower the GST rate on electric vehicles from 12 to 5%. Also, to make electric vehicle affordable to consumers, our government will provide additional income tax deduction of 1.5 lakhs of rupees on the interest paid on loans taken to purchase electric vehicles. What does this mean? This amounts to a benefit of 2.5 lakh crores over the loan period to the taxpayer who takes loans to purchase electric vehicles. So by the time the entire period of the loan ends, for you having taken the loan for buying an electric vehicle, you would benefit to the level of 2.5 lakh rupees because of this income tax deduction which is being brought in for encouraging purchase of electric vehicles. So startups, as I said when I was talking about the youth of this country, startups require, and we have been consistently providing them all the encouragement. Startups in India are taking firm roots and their continued growth needs to be encouraged. To resolve the so-called angel tax issue, I'm sure a lot of members are concerned on this issue. To resolve the so-called angel tax issue, the startups and their investors who file requisite declarations and provide information in their returns will not be subjected to any kind of scrutiny in respect of valuation of share premiums. The issue of establishing identity of the investor and source of his funds will be resolved by putting in place a mechanism of e-verification, so there's no man-to-man interface there. With this, funds raised by startups will not require, the funds raised by startups will not require any kind of scrutiny from the income tax department. In addition, special administrative arrangements shall be made by the Central Board of Direct Taxes for pending assessments of startups and redressal of their grievances. It will be ensured that no inquiry or verification in such cases be carried out by the assessing officer without obtaining approval of his supervisory office. So the element of discretion with which startups were suffering has been removed. So without obtaining the approval of his supervisory officer, an assessing officer shall not worry the assessee. At present, startups are not required to justify fair market value of their shares issued to certain investors, including Category 1 alternative investment funds. I propose to extend this benefit to Category 2 alternative investment funds also. At the moment, it's available for AIF Category 1. Now I expand this to include Category 2 AIFs also. Therefore, valuation of shares issued to these funds shall be beyond the scope of income tax scrutiny. Again, you get out of income tax scrutiny when that has been done. I also propose to relax some of the conditions for carry forward and set off losses in the case of startups. I also propose to extend the period of exemption of capital gains arising from sale of residential house for investment in startups up to 31/3/2021. And relax certain other conditions of this exemption. So affordable housing, which is an aim of this government. For realization of the goal of housing for all and affordable housing, a tax holiday has already been provided on the profits earned by developers of affordable housing. Also, interest paid on housing loans is allowed as a deduction to the extent of 2 lakhs in respect of self-occupied property. In order to provide a further impetus, I propose to allow an additional deduction of up to 1,50,000 rupees for interest paid on loans borrowed up to 31st March 2020, next year, for purchase of affordable house valued up to 45 lakhs. Therefore, a person purchasing an affordable house will now get an enhanced interest deduction up to 3.5 lakhs of rupees. This will translate into benefit of 7 lakh of rupees to the middle class home buyers over their loan period of 15 years. Just as we said about the electric cars, now we are saying the tax deduction provision that we are coming in now with will enable home buyers of the affordable home category that in the period of 15 years, when your home loan runs, the net gain would be 7 lakh of rupees. This will immediately benefit a lot of middle class. So on the NBFCs, a lot of discussion happens today about NBFCs. Non-banking financial companies play an increasingly important role in India's financial system. With enhanced levels of regulation they are subjected to by the Reserve Bank of India, there is a need to provide greater parity in their tax treatments vis-à-vis scheduled banks. Currently, interest on certain bad or doubtful debts made by scheduled banks and other financial institutions is allowed to be offered to tax in the year in which this interest is actually received. I propose to extend this facility to deposit-taking as well as systematically important non-deposit-taking NBFCs also. So the International Financial Services Center, the GIFT City, series of measures have already been taken in the past by this government. With a view to incentivizing the IFSC, I propose to provide several direct tax incentives to an IFSC, including 100% profit-linked deduction under Section 80LA in any 10-year block within a 15-year period, exemption from dividend distribution tax from current and accumulated income to companies and mutual funds, exemption on capital gain to Category 3 AIF, and interest payment on loan taken from non-residents. So, securities transaction tax. I propose to give relief in levy of securities transaction tax by restricting it only to the difference between the settlement and the strike price in case of exercise of option. Simplification and ease of living. India's ease of doing business ranking under the category of paying taxes showed a significant jump from 172 in 2017 to 121 in the year 2019. From 172, we have come to 121, a drastic improvement. I now propose to implement series of measures that will leverage technology to make compliance easier for the taxpayer. Interchangeability of PAN and Aadhaar. Mr. Speaker, sir, more than 120 crore Indians now have Aadhaar card. Therefore, for ease and convenience of taxpayers, I propose to make PAN and Aadhaar interchangeable and allow those who do not have PAN card to file income tax returns by simply quoting their Aadhaar number, and also use it wherever they are required to quote the PAN. So everywhere where you are required to quote the PAN, instead you can just do Aadhaar, and even if you don't have a PAN, there is no problem. Wow. So pre-filling of income tax returns. Pre-filled tax returns will be made available to taxpayers, which will contain details of salary income, capital gains from securities, bank interest and dividends, etc., and tax deductions also. Information regarding these incomes will be collected from the concerned sources such as banks, stock exchanges, mutual funds, EPFO, state registration departments, and so on. This will not only significantly reduce the time taken to file tax return, but will also encourage accuracy of reporting of income tax. So, faceless e-assessment. This is a very important thing about which there's been a lot of discussion. Assessees should not face any kind of harassment. The existing system of scrutiny assessments in the income tax department involves a high level of personal interaction between the taxpayer and the department, which leads to certain undesirable practices and on the part of the tax officials. To eliminate such instances and to give shape to the vision of Honorable Prime Minister, a scheme of faceless assessment in electronic mode involving no human interface is being launched this year in a phased manner. To start with, such e-assessments shall be carried out in cases requiring verification of certain specified transactions or discrepancies. Cases selected for scrutiny shall be allocated to assessment units in a random manner, and notices shall be issued electronically only by a central cell without disclosing the name, designation or location of the assessing officer. The central cell shall be the single point of contact between the taxpayer and the department. This new scheme of assessment will represent a paradigm shift in the functioning of the income tax department. So on digital payments, our government has taken a number of initiatives in the recent past for the promotion of digital payments and less cash economy. To promote digital payments further, I propose to take a slew of measures to discourage the practice of making business payments in cash. To discourage the practice of making business payments in cash, I propose to levy TDS, tax deduction at source, of 2% on cash withdrawal exceeding 1 crore in a year from a bank account. I'll repeat this. To discourage the practice of making business payments in cash, I propose to levy TDS of 2% on cash withdrawal exceeding 1 crore in a year from a bank account. Further, there are low-cost digital modes of payment such as Beam UPI, UPI QR code, Adhaar Pay, certain debit cards, NEFT, RTGS, etc., which can be used to promote less cash economy. I therefore propose that the business establishments with annual turnover of more than 50 crores shall offer such low-cost digital modes of payment to their customers, and no charges or merchant discount rate shall be imposed on customers as well as the merchants. No charges or merchant discount rates shall be imposed on customers as well as the merchants. RBI and banks will absorb these costs from the savings that will accrue to them on account of handling less cash as people move to these digital modes of payment. Necessary amendments are being made in the Income Tax Act and the Payments and Settlement System Act of 2007 to give effect to these provisions. So now about the revenue mobilization. I'm sure it's equally concerning for all of us. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I have started earlier, we have taken several measures in the past to alleviate the tax burden on small and medium income earners, as those having annual income up to 5 lakhs are not required to pay any income tax. We are thankful to the taxpayers who play a major role in nation building by paying their taxes. However, in view of the rising income levels, those in the highest income brackets need to contribute more to the nation's development. I therefore propose to enhance the surcharge on individuals having taxable income from 2 crore to 5 crores and 5 crore and above, so that effective tax rates for these two categories will increase by around 3% and 7% respectively. So the other measures, I also propose to simplify the tax law to reduce even hardships being caused to taxpayers, which include enhancing threshold of tax for launching prosecution for non-filing of returns and exempting appropriate class of persons from the anti-abuse provision of Section 50CA and Section 56 of the Income Tax Act. So the indirect taxes. Now coming to indirect taxes, sir. We are aware that the landscape has changed significantly with the implementation of the GST. In every sense, this has been a monumental reform. In every sense, this has been a monumental reform, center and states coming together and agreeing to pool in their sovereign power of taxation for common good of the country was unprecedented. 17 taxes and 13 cesses became one tax. Multitude of rates instantly became 4. Almost all commodities saw rate reduction. Tens of returns were replaced by just 1. Taxpayers' interface with tax departments got reduced. Border checks got reduced and eliminated in many cases. Goods started moving freely across states, which saved time and energy. A truck started doing two trips in the same time in which it was doing 1. Thus, dream of one nation, one tax, one market was realized. The GST Council deserves all the credit for this. Sir, in the initial phase, GST witnessed certain teething problems. This was natural considering the scale of the reform. However, the Council, the Centre and the states proactively worked to resolve these issues. GST rates have also been reduced significantly, where relief of about 92,000 crores per year has been given. We should not lose sight of this fact when judging the performance of the GST. The details are given in the annexure. We are further simplifying the GST processes. A simplified single monthly return is being rolled out. Taxpayer having annual turnover of less than 5 crore shall file only quarterly returns. Free accounting software for return preparation has been made available to small businesses. A fully automated GST refund module shall be implemented. Multiple tax ledgers for a taxpayer shall be replaced by just 1. It's also proposed to move an electronic invoice system wherein invoice details will be captured in a central system at the time of issue. This will eventually be used to pre-fill a taxpayer's return. There will be no need for a separate e-way bill. Its rollout would begin from January 2020. Electronic invoice system will significantly reduce the compliance burden. Sir, on the customs side, my proposals are driven with the objective of securing our borders, achieving higher domestic value addition through Make in India, reducing import dependence, protection to MSME, and promoting clean energy, curbing non-essential imports, and correcting inversions. Defense has an immediate requirement of modernization and upgradation. This is a national priority. For this purpose, import of defense equipment that are not being manufactured in India are being exempted from the basic customs duty. Make in India is a cherished goal. In order to provide domestic industry a level playing field, basic customs duty is being increased on items such as cashew kernels, PVC, vinyl flooring, tiles, metal fittings, mountings for furniture, auto parts, certain kinds of synthetic rubber, marble slabs, optical fiber cable, CCTV camera, IP camera, digital and network video recorders, and so on. Also, exemptions from on certain electronic items which are now being manufactured in India are being withdrawn. Further, end-use based exemptions on palm stearin, fatty oils, and exemptions to various kinds of papers are also being withdrawn. To encourage domestic publishing and printing industry, 5% customs duty is being imposed on imported books. To further promote domestic manufacturing, customs duty reductions are being proposed on certain raw materials and capital goods. These include certain inputs of CRGO sheets, amorphous alloy ribbon, ethylene dichloride, propylene oxide, cobalt matte, naphtha, wool fibers, inputs for manufacture of artificial kidney, and disposable sterilized dialyzer, and fuels for nuclear power plants. To further incentivize e-mobility, customs duty is being exempted on certain parts of electric vehicles. Customs duty is also being exempted on capital goods required for manufacture of specified electronic goods. So the export duty is being rationalized on raw and finished leather to provide relief to this sector. Crude prices have softened from their highs. This gives me room to review excise duty and cess on petrol and diesel. I propose to increase special additional excise duty and road and infrastructure cess, each one by 1 rupee a litre on petrol and diesel. It is also proposed to increase custom duty on gold and metals from 10% to 12.5%. It is also proposed to increase custom duty on gold and other precious metals from 10 to 12.5%. Tobacco products and crude attract national calamity and contingent duty. In certain cases, this levy has been contested on the ground that there is no basic excise duty on these items. To address this issue, a nominal basic excise duty is being imposed. Sir, I am also proposing few amendments to the Customs Act. Recent trends reveal that certain bogus entities are resorting to unfair practices to avail undue concessions and export incentives. While we have intensified our efforts against such nefarious activities, provisions are being incorporated in the Act for enhanced penalty and prosecution for such offences. Further misuse of duty-free scrips and drawback facility involving more than 50 lakh of rupees will be a cognizable and non-bailable offence. GST has completed 2 years. An area that concerns me is that we have huge pending litigations from pre-GST regime. More than 3.75 lakh crores of rupees is being blocked in litigations and service tax and excise. There is a need to unload this baggage and allow businesses to move on. I therefore propose a legacy dispute resolution scheme, that will allow quick closure of these litigations. I would urge the trade and business to avail this opportunity and be free from legacy litigations. The details of my tax proposals are given in the annexure. Sir Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity, and with these words, I commend the budget to this august House. Thank you.
To Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, Manya Vitt Mantri ji.
I just would like to mention, although I have commended the budget, I just would like to mention, I have not mentioned specific allocations for the scheme and programs. I have not mentioned specific allocations for schemes and programs. All these details are available in the budget documents as much as my speeches annexure. I also take this opportunity for the response that we've received for the crowdsourcing of ideas for the budget. Immense suggestion from common citizens reached us. We have benefited from the crowdsourcing. The one last mention, which is more for the curiosity's sake, the fiscal deficit. The fiscal deficit this year is 3.3%, brought down from 3.4%. Thank you.
Item number 2, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, Manya Vitt Mantri ji.
Don't have the papers with me. Sir, with your permission, I rise to lay on the table the statements regarding medium-term fiscal policy, fiscal policy statement, and the macroeconomic framework statement under Section 3, subsection 1 of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management FRBM Act 2003.
Item number 3.
Sir, with your permission again, I rise to move for leave to introduce the Finance number 2 Bill 2019.
प्रश्न ये है कि वित्त विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करने की अनुमति प्रदान की जाए। जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में हाँ कहें, जो सदस्य इसके विरोध में ना कहें। मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ है, हाँ वालों के पक्ष हुआ है, अनुमति प्रदान की जाती है। माननीय मंत्री जी, अब विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करें।
Sir, I now introduce the bill.
माननीय सदस्यों, मैं इस सभा की ओर से देश की पहली पूर्णकालिक महिला वित्त मंत्री जी को बजट पेश करने के लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं।
आज की इनकम टैक्स की न्यूज़ आपको कैसी लगी, हमें कमेंट करके ज़रूर बताएं। कृपया लाइक करें और शेयर करें। जितना अधिक आप लाइक करते हैं या शेयर करते हैं, उतनी ही अधिक हमें प्रेरणा मिलती है कि हम और भी अधिक अच्छी इनकम टैक्स की न्यूज़ आप तक पहुंचा पाएँ। जीएसटी, टैक्स और फाइनेंस के रेगुलर अपडेट के लिए आप टैक्सील की मोबाइल ऐप को गूगल प्ले स्टोर से डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं। इसका लिंक इस वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन में भी दिया गया है।